Available for SpaceStation to have first pick or Battleground choice. And let's see what they decided. They choose Battleground, and they choose Towers of Doom. I don't think that that's been something they've chosen before. SpaceStation is really open, kind of both of these teams, pretty open in their map choices, their map bans, but SpaceStation definitely so. They're banning to their opponents. And now it looks like they're trying to change things up a little bit with their picks.
Towers of Doom, you know, the ultimate decision-making map because you can't just win a team fight and walk up to the core and end it. Obviously, different mechanics for this map. So it definitely brings in a much more, I guess, awareness of the macro strategy, or you just full-on team fight around there. So, you know, the dynamics of this Battleground are very different. So we'll see the decision-making. Obviously, in the previous game, that's now, what, 3-0 for Kerrigan? For Michael Udall, maybe. This is another map that complements early aggression. If you can get on the invade, maybe we'll see it again.
I'm looking at the map choices for SpaceStation. I'm a little bit concerned now because Dragon and Volskaya, they've been picking a lot of different things, but Dragon and Volskaya especially seems to be their favorites. Dragon was a loss. Volskaya was banned by Gale Force. So with both those out of the way, we might already be on kind of the second tier, third tier of map choices. But they're still willing to switch into map choice, which makes me think maybe we're going to see something change up. You know, we've already seen them play Illidan. It's a bigger battleground, and there's a lot of brawling that's on Towers of Doom. Maybe we'll see them flex back Equinox into Illidan. Maybe the Lost Vikings. What do you think?
The Lost Vikings. This is the original Lost Vikings map. When Towers of Doom came in, I guess it would have been just over 2 years ago, post-BlizzCon, everybody, I remember the Tempo Storm roster 2 years ago at this time, it was a matter of like, we can't let them get Vikings, right? Like, it's just like, we cannot let any team get Vikings, and everybody started to run that style. But it's kind of gone out of favor. We've seen, because of the mobility, the global changes to Haka in particular, things like that. If you have a Viking Hunter, it works really well. If you have globals that can match, it works really well. And so our meta has shifted a little bit to kind of take away from that, but it could still be kind of that old school Towers of Doom, Lost Vikings classic.
Yeah, we'll have to watch and see if the bans lead us to that. If you see some Zeratul bans, some Genji bans, or trying to take those heroes, because reset heroes are also very nice to have, as well as the Viking Hunters. And there's just a lot of those heroes in the meta and available to Gale Force to try to deal with. Globals, probably for both teams, also going to be likely to be focused on in the draft. And Genji and Hanzo, per usual.
Who? Never heard of them.
No?
Nope.
We won't hear of them if they both get banned.
They got some upcoming changes soon, but that's not today. That's a discussion for a later time. Either way, Towers of Doom. You know, you mentioned the globals. You could see the fall stat potentially come in as well. And, you know, a hero that if we do get a role swap, Gilly, on the side of SpaceStation, a hero that could easily come out for me would be a Tracer pickup, because that was also one of Equinox's most played heroes last year, was the Tracer, and this is probably one of her best, if not better, battlegrounds.
And Tracer kind of has more options now. It's not so much about the Task Tracer, which you had to have. It was all about having Task Tracer together, but as the European teams have been showing us, it's a lot more about the Malfurion in Tracer now. And statistically, I believe that's a really good combination to have.
I'm pretty sure, I need to double check after today, but I'm pretty sure the only games that Tracer has won has been with a Malfurion. All other supports not so much. She has a limited play pool, and Dignitas makes her look really good. They have a couple kind of decent Tracer players, probably best in the world. You know, you could almost make an argument for Dignitas. They have the 2 best Tracer players in the world. That's what's scary about that team. Nick might be up there, and then of course we'll look over to Korea. But Dignitas, my goodness, they look good.
The Korean teams are weird. If they're still doing what they're doing with Tracer, it's flexing the support over, so I feel like that's a little bit different. We got an Abathur and a Hanzo ban, very normal. Gale Force Esports given Genji. They'll take it. Thank you, SpaceStation.
Tyrael Greymane seems to be the new hotness here.
I have never in my life seen so much Tyrael in North America. It's just usually a hero that we don't find as much success with, or it'll be brought in a little bit, doesn't do very well, kind of falls out, and then every international event he ends up coming back in just because a lot of the times Korea continues to play him a lot.
Nothing was greater than mid-season brawler DreamHack Sweden in 2016, the Korean teams in the face-off, the whole Greymane Tyrael composition. That was
protection and death.
That was one of the most insane series in Heroes history.
Probably the best one.
Probably the best.
The best one.
I remember still the crowd there and everything. That was incredible. But
that series was really good. Dig Fnatic, both series, mid-season brawl.
All of theirs.
But the last one.
Well, ETC picked up. You know, we've seen Lucio pair really well with ETC. They're prioritizing the Malthael though. That gives them that. And we've seen a lot of on a pale horse, which gives you the quicker rotations. And when another team has the global, it's allowed that team to kind of rotate down. Oftentimes, we've kind of see the Malthael who's up in the top lane kind of soft rotate. Once they kind of clear, they'll stay in between the mid and top. And then if they see the Dahaka go down, they'll be able to join the team fight. So the Malthael pick gives you that flexibility to not be punished as hard by not having the global. So I like the Malthael, and they have put that high priority on it for B-Kid. I like that.
It's a nice adjustment in this draft too, because so far Gale Force has wanted Malthael on every Towers of Doom game they've played, but it's always after the second bans. I don't see that sticking around. If they want the Malthael, they're going to have to pump that up and get it before the bans, because otherwise, in this situation, there's already a Tyrael Greymane. It might be the case that Jason wants to play it, or it doesn't make it through the secondary ban phase. So it was a nice adjustment to see them move it up. We'll see if they're punished from that in the support sense. They would love to have Uther here. They always combo Uther with this, but we'll see if they have another option if that's taken away, either taken by SpaceStation, which I expect now, or
they have to.
I was wondering if they were going to ban it, but no.
There's no way that SpaceStation doesn't take Uther, and maybe they're afraid that Equinox is like, look, I know that you played Kerrigan, but unless Equinox has changed his bio on Twitter, it still says something about him playing Kerrigan, like he loves playing Kerrigan.
Yeah, but yes, there was a role swap, but that wasn't even the role that he was playing in the last game. I mean, I guess we're seeing Kerrigan more in the secondary melee, so maybe in that instance, because it's been Psalm who's played it, Mike who's been playing it too. Uther, surely here.
There's no way Uther makes it through past this, right?
I don't think so.
Like, Uther and Genji works out really well. Uther ETC, Uther Malthael works out really well. The only the only other supports, Kharazim could work, but then Lucio and Malfurion come to mind when I think about Tomster.
Yeah, maybe he wants Lucio for Sound Barrier more. But I don't know if that's worth giving Gale Force Uther with this comp. It is. They feel it is.
That surprises me a bit.
Lucio and Li Ming. Ooh, you know what that means? Shrita's Li Ming.
It's been stellar so far. And as long as that's Shrite and Casanova and Greymane there, again, that is what this team relies on. What they should rely on is how strong they are in the back line. If they get that stability with this draft on that last pick, another melee, maybe Dahaka even, it is, and just play standard, play safe, let those two shine. I mean, it's really, really strong, really strong.
We've seen Equinox play Tyrael already, both
Twice.
heroics. Yeah, so I think it should be back to that, but maybe we're in the midst of an actual role swap. We don't know. We'll know once the draft is finished. I'll know, and then I'll be able to tease Jayhao about it because he won't be able to see it.
Yeah, be like right over. We need another range damage dealer. I think Li Ming was in consideration for Gale Force potentially. They end up with the false stat, and they take Kharazim for themselves. They get the global. They already have Malthael as the solo.
Seems a lot more kill compy. Power slide, swift strike, Kharazim goes in too. Less obviously for the divine shield factor of Uther. And there's your Dahaka. I am surprised to see Kharazim over Uther.
Yeah. I mean, so it kind of goes both ways. You'll have the AoE heals to kind of keep the core group out. Genji is normally in a flanking position. That's why Uther does well, because you can hit the wave of light on the heroes that are near you. You can hit your Q onto the Genji. And then also you have two really big heroics in Tormented Souls and Dragon Blade. Generally, teams will try and counter one of those, if not multiple ones of those. We're going to see Sound Barrier, which should do good against both of those. It's just both of them at the same time is kind of the big question mark. But then having the Divine Shield to protect one or the other. Or, oh, by the way, if you wanted to go Mosh Pit, you know, there's a lot of different things where Uther really comes into play there. With Tyrael being the pickup, though, that means that in terms of hard CC, you get the stun from the tongue from Dahaka. And so maybe Uther doesn't get as much value. I guess especially once we think about level 7, who's playing it?
I didn't see.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. Hopefully the Akaface's Karzim can keep up with SpaceStation having Tyrael shielding, sanctification, and sound barrier. It enables them to fight for a really long time, to look for those 1 to 2 reset heroes that they have, and if they can get that, the Palm needs to be there to make sure to stop that. Yeah. So let's see Akaface's Karazim, how it works out if SpaceStation can get through that and get their first win in the series.
More importantly, it has to stop the first one. That's the scary part. It has to stop the first one. But
Equinox is playing Grey Main. Casanova is on Tyrael. So we're swapping roles.
You know, sometimes there's positive statistics and sometimes there's negative statistics. Currently, right now, through the first 2 weeks, Equinox was sitting at the highest percent time dead, and that is on the warrior role, and that's generally not what you want to have. So maybe the team did some soul searching, did some looking within. Casanova going back to a role, as you stated, he played it towards the end of last year in the second phase. So going to just make the change that way.
Well, knowing that it is going to be less practiced, at least recently. It will be less practiced, so keep that in mind for the series. Let's see how it looks. Great drag from Jason as he pulls Fury in. Fury takes a lot of damage from that.
They're turning their attention back to Casanova. Akaface eats a bit of damage.
Insight!
I was going to say Insight! Insight! I'm pretty sure. Well, we got a slide dash out. Akaface, though. Nice dash back. I don't think he gets out. He's looking for a dash. I don't think he had another one. If he did, he was just out of range of Biggie. The dash range of Karazim's Q is a little bit less, I believe, than Genji's Swift Strike. So he had to Swift Strike and then try and come back. Yeah, I think there just wasn't enough time. Watching Bakery's stream the other day, and somebody asked him, when's a good time for Insight? He's like, I don't know if there ever is a good time. But it does give you the cooldown reduction once it is completed. It is definitely one to keep up with the mana, sustain in a team fight, making sure to get those quick cooldowns once it's completed. That's the main thing, is just getting it completed. Once that's done and you get the cooldown reduction, you can put out more heals. Transcendence obviously kind of goes in, but here's the Dahaka making use of the global and the envy.
Yeah, Fury pushes them back, but the camp should be forfeit. Michael Udall is going to fly down to make it a full 5v5 fight. Perfect drag on B-Kid, but he swift strikes over, or he teleports over and gets a kill on Li Ming. As he goes down, it's a 1-for-1 kill. Michael Udall now trying his best to move away from the rest of the team as they chase him down. He gets back. So we'll stick with the 1-for-1 trade. Camp picked up by SpaceStation.
That's where Dahaka comes in, but Malthael and Falstad were able to rotate. It was a 1-for-1 trade, but unable to secure the camp. Fury's going to slide through, get the face melt, but look at that shield of the new Tyrael. That's pretty hefty.
No on a pale horse. It's Fear the Reaper this time, but that will be able to give you that little bit of extra mobility having that, and also make sure that if the front line of SpaceStation is trying to body block, like you talked about, J-How, there's not a whole lot of people who are going to be able to crowd control you. You've got the drag, the isolation from that, maybe Judgment, though I doubt it. Holy Ground will help a lot at 13. Biggie's doing his best to try to get a kill, but they're gonna, oh, beautiful Fury, so good.
Oh, man.
But yeah, the Fear the Reaper, just to make sure that he can get out if the body blocks come in. And also that might be why we're seeing the Insight pickup, because there's not too many crowd control effects to stop him from being able to punch and get the cooldown reduction.
It is true. I mean, that is a very good point. Either way, triple altar phase. B-Kid Gets a slight interrupt on Jason. Tomster trying to channel here at the bot.
Fury's going in, stops Tomster as the team rotates. Fly down from Falstad. Puts him in a 1v1 versus Shrita until Casanova shows up with the shield. Everyone's coming in. Lucio's tapping. Gale Force and SpaceStation both trying to get ahead in the core health. BKid fairly low in health.
Yeah, the standoff here, I mean, when you think about Gale Force, they hit spikes much later in the game. I mean, Genji's okay with damage, but when it comes to Karazim, when it comes to Falstad, when it comes to Malthael and Genji, I mean, they're big-time heroics. Post 10, everything really revolves around team fighting. Then when you look at Li Ming and Greymane, they're both significantly stronger in the early game, so Gale Force, I think, is right to probably not pick that fight there.
Yeah, Gale Force recognized it fairly early. Like, as soon as they recognized that BKid was low, they had already started to rotate Falstad back up, try to make sure to get everyone in lanes, and then Big Impact used his Shuriken to delay as long as he could. Didn't really get them too far ahead in experience, but it did allow them to push the lanes, get more of a setup so that they could rotate around. And they're getting started on their camp, though SpaceStation gets theirs faster. It looks like no invade. They're instead going to head to the mid.
They've got all eyes on BKid.
That orb! That orb!
There's just, I mean, Gale Force is dangerously close to giving up more. Akaface does have plenty of people to jump to. Biggie's Swift Strike probably just now coming off cooldown. Right now, Zappas versus Zappas.
Ooh, another change. This is way more of a supporty build for Akaface. Giving more movement speed with Heavenly Zeal, 30% instead of the original 15.
I mean, I guess if you're going to get your cooldown reduction, then your Radiant dashes will be a little bit quicker. Normally we see the extra dash at that talent tier. Still pretty strong regardless of insight, but if you're aware that you're going to get enough attacks to have that on cooldown, then you can use that to supplement the fact that you won't have that extra dash charge.
That's true, and that increased movement speed might be enough to help Malthael move more into position.
Keep up with the Lucio.
Yeah, get set up better on the backline. Lucio and Tyrael, especially with that level 7 Swift Retribution, even more movement speed. We saw that in the last series, Lucio and Tyrael, how tough it can be to get on them. Boop back on Akaface as the next altar phase is started. Really close game 2 between Gale Force and SpaceStation here.
Really close so far. Fury zoning out, but Casanova and team are going in. Fury, let's see if he can get the slide out. He does, and the knockback to dodge the tongue. But they've taken so much damage that Tomster starting the channel. This might be another one here, although Biggie's got other thoughts in mind.
He already used both of his abilities to escape, but Jason doesn't hit the drag. Power slide in, hits 2, pushes him back. A lot of damage starting to go down on Jason, and BKid confirms the kill as Akaface and Big Impact to get a second. 2 quick kills for Gale Force.
That power slide by Fury was money. And then that extra range that you had mentioned for the talent tier for Malthael. Normally on a Pale Horse, you don't get that dive in, but he found himself able to get in, confirm the kill, and then they got the other one on the backside. Gale Force gets a little bit of a lead, gets some control here.
Yeah, and that all started with Fury. Really patient, awesome play to make sure that he could dodge when the Dahaka stalked in. Everyone else got out, he went down, sort of dodged out, went back through the power slide, and then once the team was ready to re-engage, going in and enabling the rest of the team, gives Gale Force heroics just slightly ahead. Is this last rites?
I laugh, but we had that last week.
We did.
I don't want it this week.
ETC waiting to see what Li Ming picks. Li Ming.
There are last right changes coming. They're just not here yet.
Right.
So if you're wondering about that, those are still, I believe that's still on the PTR. But either way, last rights was a thing before. We're going to find out if it is here. This is an interesting call.
Tormented.
Okay.
Fury patiently holding on. He hasn't been seen to be switching out into the lane versus Jason, who's used isolation on Michael Udall, but Mike dodges the drag.
Tyrael coming on the backside, coming in for the flank there. We're going to get out just fine. Got the movement speed.
Another flank happening in the top lane, though. BKid there to push back Jason. Double altars activating in 15 seconds mid and bot. No team really able to get the structural lead yet, able to take down a bell tower. It's a testament to Gale Force making sure that they're keeping back Dahaka, but they also have Mike on the fall stat, so it's sort of the same. Just global versus global, not giving any sort of big advantage there. Dahaka's going to stock in, and that stops Akaface from channeling.
Yeah, he's
Nice
saving
dodge
his
on the
charge, trying to rely on dodging the juke, and he does not use that charge. The Eldruin is back in that corner. Okay, it expired. I was wondering if they might try and go in, but on the backside, false stat him out, they'll get it. They've already pinged. They know Dahaka's at the bottom. Gale Force coming down, looking for a fight, maybe get a double altar here for themselves.
That's always such a frustrating point when you haven't been able to trade out and your opponent to get one of the altars they were channeling. Now SpaceStation is forced to try to fight over this, but all the damage that Gale Force is doing, we're not quite connecting to be able to even out that damage. Gale Force just pushing back SpaceStation further and further, and they have done enough zoning for Mike to channel.
Oh, nice.
Knox.
Sanctification has been used, though. Biggie trying to get some damage in there. Tormented Souls is out, but so is the sound barrier. I don't know if they can confirm anything here because they are diving under that bell tower. But that Sanctification was clutch there.
Sanctification, very good. Sound barrier, perfectly timed afterward. Great synergy from Casanova and Tomster to ensure that they got through everything, and they burned that Tormented Souls, and the Dragon Blade was used too. So Gale Force felt like they, because of the early Sanctification, might be able to cut through that sound barrier, hit them at the end of it. But because they were retreating back to the fort, wasn't a place where Gale Force could get a good fight or felt confident diving in completely.
Yeah, you never want to overlap those two heroics. You need one or the other. We actually saw that mistake happen in our previous game. It was more of a reactionary thing. Didn't have too much of an effect on the game, but you always want to make sure if you are running those, you want to double up on that. The power slide in. I think he wanted to hit that R button right there, and he's got boop back. He's like,
yeah, man, the boop. Tomster playing out of his mind this game. That boop was so good. Because Gale Force are still being fierce. They may not have those two big damaging heroics, but they still have the power slide Swift Strike, and with the follow-up damage from B-Kid and Akaface, really just not having to worry about having B-Kid alongside or with the Dahaka enables them to be really aggressive here.
Biggie
Casanova.
just dodging that. Casanova the slide on him. But Equinox coming in on the backside, gets the go for the throat onto Biggie there.
Really well done from Equinox. Went in, used Biggie. Biggie swift struck in, was underneath the fort, had to back out. Equinox punishes, takes advantage. Double phase, global starting.
So I want to talk about the synergy here that we have for Kerosene between his level 1 and his 13.
Okay.
He ended up going Fist of Fury, which gives you that extra duration on your Deadly Reach, which you get that extra attack speed, so you get more. So you actually get the cooldowns almost indefinitely when you're on Insight. If you get the full duration of that, you have all of your cooldowns back, and you can indefinitely use that Deadly Reach. So in team fights, he'll get those cooldowns definitely much quicker. So the synergy is there. It's just a matter of, can you get all that off against the team that is dangerously diving on you and trying to kill you in a heartbeat. Udall, though, dodges the isolation.
Gust, but didn't fly out. Should have been an indication that the rotations were coming. Jason is punished, taken out for trying to get that kill on the 1v1 versus Mike. Gale Force quickly moves into position to be able to get that boss.
This is always one of those calls that I'm torn on. Trading a boss for double Sapper's bottom. Yes, you get 4 shots, but is it worth losing a keep? And in my opinion, it's not. The bottom lane control is so significant. They might be able to hold against these last 4 as SpaceStation's been forced off, but that bottom lane control is just so strong.
It is. I think part of it was that they were so interested in being able to turn that kill when Dahaka went after Falstad. Then they knew, okay, we're not going to make it back in time to get the Sappers. Let's just hurry and get the boss and go straight down and try to defend it. And that may come back to haunt them because they did take a lot of damage on that bell tower, but they at least saved it for this altar phase. That pick that they got and getting back in time has nearly netted them 16. They're sending Falstad up now to get their safe altar, and then they're going to wait it out. Hopefully, if they can, they're going to put some pressure on, but hopefully getting 16 so that they can get this other altar too.
Slide over by Fury's got Casanova and team. They're down to half health, but Jason's here, misses his tongue. B-Kid with the juke, the holy ground as well on the backside, but so far they've been unable to bust through that. But there's Gust, Gilly.
Gust, the Swift Strike too. Good night, Equinox. No Greymane to save the day there. Casanova not able to Sanctification to save that. No Sound Barrier either. It was just gone so fast before you could even say Greymane.
I think they're going to try and take this down. This is a good call. You have numbers advantage. You can take this. It's only at half health. The minions are coming forward. Fury only taking 1 or 2 shots. This will give them the bottom lane control. It'll also give them an additional shot when they channel this altar. It's going to put SpaceStation Gaming down to 7 core health remaining.
7 and no boss to worry about. Thankfully, Gale Force ensured that. We've got 3 minutes left for that. SpaceStation need to get 16 and get back into the fight. Potentially get that bottom lane, but for now, they're on the back foot in that bottom lane because they have to get 16, and Gale Force were smart in taking that bell tower. They're going to even have the sappers pushing here, but at least SpaceStation have Dahaka, who can continue to try to soak and give them 16 so they're ready for the next fight.
I'm going to try and get the sappers across. There's the power slide, the Swift Strike through. The Holy Ground has the sappers zoned out for the moment. Wave of Force making sure, and they do. They clear all 3. That's a very crucial point for them. That way, one altar cannot finish this game. And coincidentally enough, it is a single altar phase after this.
Yeah, the problem is that it's going to be... There is another sapper camp available in that lane. Gale Force are going to send back 1. They'll send back Malthael to get that. SpaceStation can assume that's happening, so they step forward a little bit more, doing damage. Equinox takes so much because of that Swift Strike. And the Akka face follow-up too.
So as you alluded to in the very beginning of this game, going full heal build. As we see Echo of Heaven picked up at 16. Not the cleansing touch, not the extra fist, the way of 100 fists. Instead, going full heal, getting that secondary heal gives you 75% more healing. Casanova jukes on out, but directly into a power slide. So far, by the way, Aquaface's healing has been insane. He's at 58,000. His counterpart on the other side, who has crazy good AoE heal, sitting at 40,000. This Kerosene build, I think, is working for him.
Yeah, and as I said before, I feel like a lot of that comes down to the amount of crowd control that SpaceStation has. He still has mobility away from Holy Grounds, and the healing from that, he can provide more area healing. Great power slide again. They might look to turn this around. Falstad is channeling those Sanctification. Great palm. Excellent palm from Akaface. Keeps him alive. Sound Barrier has been used now. There is no Sanctification or Sound Barrier left for this Tormented Souls from B-Kid as he brings down Greymane. The rest of Gale Force Esports, as Fury just stands there, says, yep, this is a good place to dance. Goes for the mosh pit, and Li Ming's down too.
He's going to go down. Casanova's down. Biggie going off right now. Tomster, he's going to be last to fall. That's a 5-man team wipe. They're going to be able to end this game. All they got to do is get a few sappers across and channel here, and that's going to be GG. Gale Force, dominant performance in this game. 10-3. Actually, that was enough.
Yep.
Wait a minute. There's no such thing as caster math. Never heard of that meme before. But either way, very good job by Gale Force to seal the deal. That team fight, regardless, was going to end the game in any form or fashion. But Gale Force, they are on point today. And I don't know if it's more of the role swap on the side of SpaceStation seeming like it's affecting some team synergy. But Gale Force, whether it's been the builds, the drafts, whatever it is, the early invades with the Kerrigan on the previous map, they're on fire right now.
Yeah, Gale Force looks excellent. I thought it was really cool to see Akaface, who is traditionally more likely to play some off-meta heroes, show us a really cool build with the Insight, being able to provide a lot of more movement speed at level 7 to the team, try to help them get into better position or try to escape to. ETC was focused on a couple of times. Have that more area healing, have the Echo of Heaven too, so that if they're going to group in, which is likely given their composition, and likely given the composition that we saw from SpaceStation, then they can get a lot of heals out of that. Proving to us, too, that he can hit those palms, so they don't need a Divine Shield. Those palms were fantastic. Akaface had a great Karazim game.
Game of 1, we had Circles of Death. Game 2, we have Circles of Life. and that worked out really well. The Insight build, if you are going to try it, that would be the ideal build to go, especially at 13 and 16. You have the indefinite duration of that to make sure to take advantage of Insight. And then 16, the Echo of Heaven. That was a lot of healing put out there by Karazim in a short amount of time. I'm actually really impressed by what he was able to get out of that. But I think the point that you made about the lack of that hard CC definitely made that a viable pickup for him.
Yeah, because if you have to be punching, because you really need to take advantage of that cooldown reduction that you get from Insight once you finish your stacks. And so if there's just people stopping you, stunning you, pushing you around, like if ETC were on the other side, it's just not going to net you that benefit that you want out of that. So for Akaface and the rest of Gale Force Esports, you know, they looked great too. Biggie popped up on Genji. B-Kid's Malthael continues to impress. Things look really good for Gale Force. And as we said, this is a really important match for both of these teams to win since they are tied in the standings.
I think it's definitely getting the weekend off on the right foot for Gale Force is important. They have Team 12 tomorrow, which is a very tough team. Not that SpaceStation Gaming isn't, but we know where Team 12 stands in the North American hierarchy. They've been near the top for quite some time. So Gale Force getting a win here, it could give them the momentum for tomorrow, maybe come in and establish themselves as one of the top 3. They had a weird week last weekend, but it seems like they've kind of righted the ship a little bit, off to a good start here, 2-0 in this series.
Yeah, unfortunately, they hit the LFM iceberg, but they were able to plug those holes, bail themselves out. And now they're one game away from being able to 3-0 SpaceStation. So we're going to go to a break. When we come back, we'll see if Gale Force closes out the series or if SpaceStation brings it back. Stick with us.